We are live. This is a Friday, and I am Rich Lieberman. You're on YouTube watching live, or even if you're not watching live at a later time, welcome aboard. And I have got something for you that you will not hear or see quite literally anywhere else. That's why you come here. Larry Baer, here's the headline, is no longer officially the face of the franchise called the San Francisco Giants. Now, you watched that press conference they had the other day. It was very symbolic. And it has been symbolic, not just that press conference, but other press conferences, other things, other events, other parts of the lineage that you haven't seen. But that's why you come here, because I'm going to tell you what the real deal is and not the BS that you will otherwise get. Now, that press conference was big in terms of what the fact of the matter is, who wasn't there? What wasn't taking big bird shape up on the dice, so to speak? He wasn't. At a press conference that big, where all of the employees, almost all the employees, all the players were there to welcome aboard Rafael Devers. I'm not going to use the word Rafi like some of the other alleged media members who hardly don't even know the guy. His name is Rafael Devers. They had a big to-do press conference. They literally put fireworks. Did you hear about that? No. Very few people reported that. They had fireworks down near the left field area, beyond the fence, beyond the Coke bottle, where all the bigwigs park, part of the organization. So this was a big to do. Of course it was. Got a superstar, in theory, there to introduce at the press conference. Who wasn't on the dice? Well, let's first say who was. The owner, Greg Johnson. You had a couple of the Spanish employees, one of whom acted as interpreter. You had Mr. Devers himself. Oh, and you had a guy named Buster Posey, the now face of the franchise, one of the owners, although it's a symbolic ownership because he got 2% of the team when he got the gig. Buster Posey was on the dice. And oh, yeah, Dave Fleming, one of the announcers who basically introduced everybody. Who was it on the dice? Who was sitting in the front row, but not up on the stage? Larry Baer. Folks, there is a sea change taking place within the San Francisco Giants hierarchy. I don't even go there anymore. I wouldn't want to go there, but they don't invite me. But I can make calls and do a little bit of research and get in contact with people who know what is going on. And you're not going to get the fact that Larry Baer, who is the basically business wise number one, or he was, Larry Baer, known derisively as Big Bird, wasn't sitting on the stage, wasn't anywhere near. Oh, he was in the front row, trying to best get his face in any kind of camera angle, sitting near Barry Bonds. I guess that would help. But here's what's going on, folks. He's no longer the face of the franchise. And you know who made that decision? Well, one person in particular, but somebody who kind of signs the checks agreed, Greg Johnson. Buster Posey not only runs the Giants, the business side, the baseball side, he is the de facto face of the franchise, the non-player face of the franchise. They don't want to see Larry Baer anymore. Larry Baer has been basically evicted to a lesser role. Why is that? Because Big Bird has had his day. He's old news. He is not the person that the powers that be, namely the owner, really the son of the actual owner, but in reality, he is in charge, but no longer. It's Buster Posey. Larry Baer brings bad news, negativity. Even his proxy, the ass kisser, send in the clown. Brian Murphy knows that. Finally, Brian finally got the message that his blowee is no longer the man up on stage. When they have these big, gigantic pressers, when they have all the people, do you hear the clapping going on? Those of you that watched the press conference, all the clapping, I called it a coronation. They had all the employees there. They had most of the teammates were there. Larry Baer wasn't there. And folks, this is a big to do because it signals the actual situation that has taken place. They don't want to see Larry Baer. He's negative. He's had issues off the field, something having to do with his wife and a chair falling down, if you know what I mean. But that was just one situation. The point of this, folks, is there's a new sheriff in town, and that is Buster Posey. Now, you might have said, well, of course he is. He's Buster Posey, but not in the manner in which they're not going to tell you. They being the nibnods known as the San Francisco sports press guys, or even the non-sports guys. You're not going to get this from Phil Mateer. You're not going to get this in the Standard, whatever that is. It's kind of glossy, kind of looks kind of cute and pretty. You're getting it from me. And what have I discovered? What have I learned? I have learned that a whole group of people, very influential people, consider Larry Baer yesterday. Now, granted, this team has won 3 world championships. That was more than a decade and a half ago. Team hasn't been drawing. This year it has been. There is fundamental change. It's not just on the field and off the field. The business side, the stadium itself, the powers that be within the organization. There is a fundamental difference. Buster Posey is responsible for all of that because Posey's not just a baseball dude, he is a business dude. And he saw the handwriting on the wall. He saw Big Bird, as he is, a power-hungry, megalomaniac ego the size of SF Bay, no longer fits the business pedigree. Buster has an ego himself, but he has grit. He has teeth. He's the face of the franchise. It was him that got the deal done, of course, that brought Mr. Devers from Boston to the city by the bay, and on that lavish dice. Baer has lost all influence. The only time he's relevant now is when he picks up some schlub that happened to be in the news and he tries to make himself feel very important. So he runs down the aisles behind the dugout and sits in his seat. He gets the money that he's getting, folks, but he has lost all the influence. He's no longer that big, powerful Big Bird. He's only big in the sense of geography with the face and the hair and all that. But the machinations, the fundamental day-to-day operations of the team beyond the playing field, beyond the corporate board, beyond the boardroom, beyond the big to-do room there at the ballpark, Oracle Park, is no longer Larry Baer. Oh, symbolically, he's at a few meetings. He still does that stupid show on KNBR every 3 weeks just to make it feel as if he's a part of the show, but he isn't. I stress that you're not going to get this anywhere else because it's not in their best interest. The guys who get their little freebie passes, who go get to eat expensive meals gratis and eat the little hot dogs and the pieces of cheese pizza up in the press box, they don't want to jeopardize that. They don't want to piss off Larry Baer because they still think he is part of the grand ship. Well, folks, at this point, he's the Titanic. And as big of a story as the fact that he's no longer face of the franchise, you want to hear something? The bigger story is that the basic San Francisco sports press, the Susan Slussers, the John Shays, even Scott Ostler. Well, he might write about this, but I doubt it. They don't want to mess with Larry Baer. They don't want to piss him off because the little ego, oh no, the big ego that he still has might mean less hot dogs, might mean less free hot dogs. And oh, by the way, Mr. Baer, I'm such and such. I'm visiting Seattle in a couple of weeks. Can you get me a couple of tickets? That's a jeopardy. They don't want to lose that perk. But the overwhelming facts and the research that I've concluded, and it's not just me, there's a few sports guys who still have some integrity. A columnist, they don't have the integrity. You think Ann Killian, who most certainly has to know, maybe she doesn't, think she's going to write about this? No. You think Scotty Ostler will write about this? No. John Shea is the last of the old school journalists. And I doubt that even John Shea will write about this. He writes for the Standard. That's because you don't have a press left in San Francisco. This is a big to-do, folks. This is the guy who is a part of the big ship called SF Giants. All the social world, all of the non-political bigwigs. Larry Baer was once thought as possibly running for mayor. But he understood ever since the incident with his wife that he can no longer even think of running for mayor. But that's yesterday. Today, he is no longer the big to-do at San Francisco Giants at 24 Willie Mays Plaza. And by the way, you're certainly not going to hear anything about this on that alleged radio station, the flagship, KNBR. Why? Because they have little gym rats running the station, parading around as if they're the greater being. They're not. They're little numbnuts. This is a fundamental change. It's big to do. You'll eventually hear something because, look, they have to report it. It's one way or the other. But just remember where you got it first, right here. From Rich Lieberman. Do become a paid subscriber to my channel here on YouTube. And tell your friends, your enemies, your priest, your rabbi, your lawyer, your doctor, your plumber. Thanks for watching.